Hello and welcome, this is Lino Tadros, and in this video I would like to demonstrate the use of the Progress Sitefinity CMS MCP servers against an ASP.NET Core renderer to be able to generate code, widgets, modules, and see how easy it is to be able to generate all that code without really any coding whatsoever. It is pretty amazing actually how easy it is. It might not be 100%. A lot of times it will take you 90-95% of the way and you still have to make some tweaks. But I just want you to see the experience itself and see for yourself how much this is going to save us all a lot of time into the future. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I just want you to see the CMS itself. I'm going against a Sitefinity cloud instance offered to me by the Progress team. So I just put in the URL that I was given in here, and this is the CMS. This is not a renderer, this is not .NET Core or a Next.js. This is just the pure CMS itself. And now I would like to go ahead and create a renderer. In a previous video, I showed you how to do it with Next.js. In this video, we'll do it with ASP.NET Core to go ahead and start that. And by the way, you can actually use the CLI to generate a template for your .NET Core renderer. Or you can go to GitHub and download just a completely simple hello world kind of renderer template for ASP.NET Core. Either way, we just need to start from somewhere to have a .NET Core renderer available for us. All right, let's head over to Visual Studio Code and notice that I actually cloned here a specific repository that has a completely empty .NET Core renderer. So you will notice I have nothing under the VS Code. I didn't create anything yet. And in the web app, this is where the .NET Core renderer application is all about. You'll notice if you open up under View Components, there are some of the widgets that actually come automatically with Sitefinity ASP.NET Core renderer, like the language selector, the login status, the section view component, and so on. My goal in here is that I would love to use the new MCP server by Sitefinity to generate a brand new component by just giving it a prompt and tell it exactly what I'm after. And let's see how successful that will be inside of Visual Studio Code. All right, the first thing I want to do, I would like to start opening up the Copilot. Notice the logo all the way at the top in Visual Studio Code. I'm going to actually open that for the open chat. We need to be on agent. And I also want to find out what kind of MCP servers are available for me. So if you click on this tool icon, it will show me that I have about 80 of different tools. So let me collapse this. I have some file systems, some file crawl, some other things that I've been actually using, but there is nothing here about the Sitefinity MCP server. So obviously I need to install it globally or specific to this workspace in here. So I'm going to do it for the workspace so I can see the mcp.json file under the VS Code. So how do we go about that? First of all, Control-Shift-P to open up the extender in here, and I'm going to look for something in the list that starts with MCP: add server. Let's go ahead and add that server. And then Visual Studio Code is asking me if I would like to use standard IO or the new streamable HTTP. The SSE one, which is the server send events, have been deprecated, so really it's between the standard IO, which means you're going to run everything locally on your machine, or you're going to use the streamable HTTP, which you'll be hitting a specific server. And that's the one that actually Progress Sitefinity decided to use. So I'm going to go with HTTP at this point. And now it's asked me what is the URL where that MCP is at. So I'm going to actually bring that from the documentation. And it's https mcp.sitefinity.cloud netcore-widgets/MCP. So if I push enter in here, the last step, or actually the one before last, is going to ask me for a name for it so it can register it. This could be whatever you want, okay? So I'm going to actually call it sf-mcp- let's say core. So I know that this is not the Next.js one, this is the .NET Core one, for instance. And finally, when I push enter, it's going to ask me, do you want to install it globally so all projects in Visual Studio Code can have access to it, or in the workspace only in this one? I'm going to make it for the workspace so I can see the MCP. I'm going to trust it, we'll say trust. And there is, notice the mcp.json that got created under the .vs code here in my project. All right, great. Notice in here it's running. I'm going to stop it from running for a second. All right, that's the name that I gave it. Like I said, it could be whatever you want. It has a URL where the MCP server itself is. It's of type HTTP, not standard IO. But this is actually not enough. We will need one more thing for the header to tell it where the CMS system is at. Not only the CMS system, but the web services gate for that web services. So I'm going to go right after the HTTP, put a comma in here, and then I'm going to be adding the headers. We'll say headers, that's the key, and the value is the key of the first headers value is x-sitefinity-url. And like I showed you from the beginning of the video where the CMS is loading, it's at sta-angelcloud-sitefinity.com. Plus I have to put, of course, the /API/default. Of course, if you have changed the name of your web service from default to something else, of course, that have to follow a suit. But again, the default will be API/default. This is the only thing that you'll need to do. And from that point on, your MCP server can start. So I'm going to save this file. Let's click on start. Notice also it says there are 9 tools. I'll show you the 9 tools here in a second. We'll say start. And it's running. It's all good. Now I would like to see what tools are there. So I'm going to click on the tools again. We'll collapse everything. And hopefully, there you go. SF MCP Core. If I open it up, there will be 9 tools. So you can read actually the description of all of them. Sitefinity decided not to create just one tool that does everything. I think this is the right approach to create multiple tools. Each one is responsible for something different. One for creating layout widgets, one for forms, one for the views, one for the important metadata, even samples for the REST clients, the registration, which is extremely important. You have to be able to ask the system to register it for you as well, and the entity for all the properties that you'd like to show up in the widget editor as well. So all of these are available for you to be able to use the MCP server. So okay, I'm going to say okay, and let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to close down the mcp.json, and now let's go down which LLM would I like to use. If you open up this combo box here at the bottom, notice the default on my machine here is GPT-4.1. I could actually go add GPT 5.0 if I want to, because it just got released by the time you see this video. And the 4.0, there is Sonnet from Anthropic all the way to 4.0. We have the Gemini 2.5. We have the O3 and O4 minis in here for reasoning, which is very, very good. And you should actually try all of them and see which one gives you the best. In my case in here, I'm going to go ahead and use the Sonnet 4.0 from Anthropic. And let's give it a shot in here. What do I want to do? I want to create a widget. So let me give the system the smallest amount of prompt possible. So I'm going to say Control-V, and I'm going to say create a carousel widget with an image, title, and 2 buttons. That's about it. I just want to, I mean, this is not really an excellent prompt. Usually my prompts are like a paragraph or 2 to go into details, what I want to see in the widget editor, what I want to see as properties, how I want it to be implemented. But can you imagine actually, even if you're a non-developer or actually a junior developer that really is not aware of all the intricacy of creating widgets and modules and so on in Sitefinity, now you can learn. You can actually ask in English or whatever language you use what exactly you're interested in, and then go ahead and view the code and learn from it as well. And if you're a senior person, you can actually create it still and then go modify it to your liking for performance, for whatever. But I want to see how the system is going to create a widget for me, because there are a lot of files involved. There is a lot of C# files that will have to be created for the entities, for the view components, for the views. And will it be able to do all that stuff based on the MCP server? So let's go ahead and say go, and let's see little by little what's going to happen in here. There is now a conversation going on. I will help you create a carousel widget for the Sitefinity ASP.NET. I don't want to give you feedback right now. Thank you very much. And the nice thing about it is every time it's going to actually use one of the tools in the 9 MCP server tools for Sitefinity, it's going to ask for permission. So this first one is telling you which one is it going to be using. Would you like me to continue? I'll say, sure, let's go for it. And now it's going to go to the next step. It's going to have to almost have a plan of what it needs to do to actually get the whole thing. So the next one is a different tool, and that's to create an entity based on the properties that I asked for, like an image, a title, and so on. So I'm going to say, yes, go for it. And now we're going to see it's going to start creating files, multiple files. But it will actually also give you the power of accepting or rejecting these files or the modification for existing files and so on. So we will give it I mean, this might actually take a few minutes of going back and forth and saying continue and asking questions and so on. But just think about the productivity of something like this, to be able to explain exactly what you want and let the system go. So notice now it created something called carousel entity, and it shows you what the file looks like. I can keep or undo. You can't do any of that stuff until the whole chat is done. So you cannot click on keep or reject or anything like that. It's just, you have to be patient and wait until the whole thing is done. It created an interface iCarousel model. And it will show you here, of course, on the left side, the files that got added or have been modified. So I can create models. Notice it created a new folder under models called Carousel, and it has an interface for the carousel model, and it created a view model for me as well. And at the bottom, there will always be a summary of all the files that have been changed. Even the new one is considered changed. So far we have 4 files, one for the view model, one for the model, one for the entity, and we have an interface file as well. And there are still a lot more files that have to be created. There is the view components. That's an important one for me. Let me click on that while it's working. So I can see it created a title for it. It created a widget category content, and it gave it an icon name. It's doing a great job. So far, it's amazing. All the stuff is happening in here. But I'm expecting to see more files soon, especially for the view. And the registration as well, we will see that. The registration right there at the top is Sitefinity Widget. So let's give it a few more seconds. Oh, there is the view just got created. See under Views, Shared Components, Carousel. So hopefully if I go under Views, let me close this down. Views, Components. Yep, there it is. It created a brand new folder called Carousel, and it put the default.cs HTML. I can click on it, and there will be a lot of code that got generated to allow me to be able to represent that for the end users. Not only that, but notice it's going to end up creating a JavaScript file as well to be able to go and do some client-side, maybe animation, maybe whatever it needs to do will be available in here as well. So if you take a look, there it is, the carousel widget.js. So far we have 7 new files created for this, and that only happened because of one line of a prompt in English that I asked what I'm trying to do. When it finishes this, folks, it's not that you have to take whatever it gives you. If you see something that you don't like, you can go back to the prompt and saying like, this is all nice and dandy, but I would like you to change something in the widget editor. I don't want it to be this, I want it to be that. Or I want you to add one more property. So there is a conversation that will have to keep going back and forth until you get exactly what you want. And if you get an error during compilation, don't try to solve it. Just tell the prompt, hey, I got an error. What's the problem? Go fix your own stuff. So, and the system will say, yep, I made a mistake. Let me go ahead and fix that and whatever. So the conversation is really excellent. Same thing with the Next.js as well. So both of them, you can keep going back and forth. So my goal in here to see what is going to happen on the first run. Just before I even ask any other prompts after the original one, how far will the system be able to create a legal widget for an ASP.NET Core render for me to work with? So we'll let it finish up in here, and we'll be back when it's done. Notice also it's asking me, now let me check if there are any compilation errors. So it's going to see the program.cs file, the view component itself, the models, the view models, the entities, and everything. And then let me check what the error namespace is for the view selector. This also happens in the Next.js as well. So whenever there is a view selector as an attribute, it forgets to bring in the using statement, but it actually can go back and fix its own problem. So the nice thing is that you can see the conversation, what's going on. It's not a one-way thing. It keeps going back and forth like, oh, I found a problem, let me fix it kind of thing. See, it seems view selector might not be available in this version. Let me remove it from now and check if there are any other revisions. So yeah, please go ahead and do that. So you will notice now it's going to start removing files and adding another file and all the stuff without any prompt. This is all just by itself. It's going to try to make all these changes, compile. It will not compile. It will go back and it will just keep you in the loop. And it will just let you know, like, I just want you to know that I figured it out. I understand. Okay, great. Now let me create an alternative view for the carousel to show flexibility, which is excellent. I didn't even ask for a multiple views, but it's doing that by itself as a best practice as well. Excellent. So it created a card view.cs HTML. The CSS is being interpreted. So it actually ended up creating a CSS file for me as well. See, so that it can style the carousel and make it look nice. Now, of course, you can go back and make modification manually to the CSS for whatever colors and themes that you would like. But out of the box, it will still be able to do all the stuff for you out of the box. And then when it thinks it's all done, it's going to say, great, let me go ahead and create a README file to document the carousel widget. So there will be a README file for the carousel view component that explains exactly what's going to be happening in the widget editor, what the functionality is all about, how to use the widget actually at design time, and what the customer that will be viewing the page that uses a carousel is expected to see as well. All the stuff, including the documentation, will be there. So if I click on this README, see, created the README carousel widget. And now it will ask me run the command in terminal. What it would like to do, it would like to go to a folder. Remember, we are not in the web app. We are outside of the web app, so I cannot do a .NET run. So it will actually CD into that folder and then do a .NET build to make sure everything is compiling correctly, and we'll say yes, please. So you'll notice the terminal will show up in here, and it will actually change the directory to web app. Yep, there you go. See, CD, and then it will do a .NET build, and hopefully we will not have any errors. And if there are errors, the system will continue trying to fix these errors as well. I've seen that before happening as well. But this one succeeded right away. It took 9.8 seconds and it's successful. So excellent, the project built successfully. Let me also update the main CSS file to include the carousel styles. So it's going to go into the coriander lane.css, which is not my file. It's something that came automatically from the templates and the CSSs with the website as a sample. And then let me append the carousel styles to the main CSS. Great. It's doing a lot of work. I just want you to remember how long would it have taken you to actually create all of these 12 files and make all the modification. I mean, you could be a very, very good engineer and you can do that probably in a couple of hours, but I don't think you'd be able to do all that stuff in the 5 minutes that we have done this in. All right, so right now we'll actually shut it up a little bit for the verbosity quiet. We'll say continue that. And we let it finish however it like to finish before I actually see how the result will look like. So there is the .NET build again. All right, it's done. Now it says perfect. The build component successful. Carousel widget, and then it's going to give you all the different changes, and think of it as the documentation for the carousel. I can copy and paste that, put it in an MD file, but believe it or not, they already did that for me. It created a carousel widget.md and it included all this information in it. So I can actually enter it into my requirement documents, for instance, for the company, and so on. And the carousel widget is now ready to use in your Sitefinity CMS. No errors, nothing. All right. There are 15 files that got created, and some of them have been already there, but like program.cs. So if I click on that, it will show me it had to bring in dependency injection. It had to bring in the model course from the Coriander renderer. For using them, and it definitely did a lot of work in here. All right, so right now what I would love to do is to run it and see what's going to happen. We'll say .NET run, and we'll let it go. So hopefully it will take a few seconds, and if we have done our job right, yep, there you go. It will run on HTTPS localhost 5001, or I can run it on HTTP as well. That's fine. So let me click on that. All right, amazing. We're running on localhost 5001. I'm going to come at the end and here we'll say /Sitefinity. And we'll use enter ID to log into the system. Let's wait for it to compile that. All right, it's asking me to log in. We'll log in with my email address. We'll say sign in. And yes, sure, no problem. All right, and let's see if we can actually get into the back end. In the renderer. We are right now in the ASP.NET Core renderer for that CMS system. And we're good. All right, let me go ahead and click on pages. And I'm going to create a brand new page in here. All right, took a second to refresh that. And I'm going to go ahead and say create a page. And we'll call this one Lino Core for ASP.NET Core, and we'll say continue. And now we get to choose actually whichever template I would like to use. So which one? There's a financial services template, franchise template. Let's use, I'm going to use the Coriander lane. That's fine. So they can match the rest of the site. It's okay. All right, we are there. Let's go ahead and create a section in here. We'll say add in the middle, and we will say create a section. All right, our section is created, and now I'm going to add a widget. And if I was in good shape, because the registration said put it actually in the category of content, it just did it all the way at the top in here. Notice the logo is incorrect because the icon name that we passed it does not exist. So that was a little bit of a hallucination, but it's not a big deal. I can always go back to Visual Studio Code and I put the correct name for the icon that I want. Otherwise, it would be empty like that. But that's okay. That's a small thing we can do. Let's go ahead and add the carousel widget, and let's see what's going to happen. Look at that, the CSS and everything. Folks, remember that I did not write one line of code to do any of that stuff, okay? So right now it's telling you that we cannot show you anything because the no carousel items configured. So I'm going to click on it, and we click on edit, and now I'm going to get the editor. So I'm going to have a carousel title, carousel items. What does that mean? List of carousel slides with images, titles, and buttons. Maybe that's not really what I want. Settings, the autoplay, show navigation, all the stuff that carousel usually have to have, fade transition, the display settings in here for the view templates. I can even see there is something that got added in here in the advanced. No, just the label for this one. So obviously at this point, you did a pretty good job, but not an excellent job, right? One of the things that I would like to see in the content, I don't want a text box in here to say carousel item. I want this to be a selector, so I can choose the images in one of my library, for instance. So you can go back to to Visual Studio Code and add a secondary prompt, things like allow me to use an image selector to select the image that I want for the carousel, for instance. And let's see if it will do that as well. So I'm going to close all of this. And yeah, we can close all of the files that are open. And I'm going to come in here. And let's go to the prompt again and keep going the conversation. So I'm going to bring in my prompt. I need to be able to choose the images of the carousel using an image selector in the Carousel Widget editor. So let's go ahead and let it go, and let's see what the system will do. So far it gave me definitely 90% of the work has been done. I just need to make the editor easier for me to be able to point to which images need to be involved inside of that carousel. Everything else, the transitions, the timing, everything has been implemented for me automatically. So notice here, get current type metadata from Sitefinity. It found out if you want to do that, if you want to access the images in the libraries, first of all, I need to be able to have access to the libraries model image in the Telerik Sitefinity. It says, you are correct, keep going. That's very promising. So we'll let it keep thinking. It's perfect. Now I can see I should use the proper content attribute for selecting images from Sitefinity Media Library. And it's going to change that in the entity. So if you come into the entity file, you'll notice that it made the change in here to use the correct image selector in here. Perfect. Yep. And it has the carousel item right there. It's bringing in from the model image, and it will allow multiple selection equals to false. It will only allow you to pick one at a time. So the system is getting very smart. But remember, it's very rare that you will do only one prompt and get everything perfect. But the fact that you don't have to write still code, you can just go back to the prompt and saying, hey, I don't like how you did that. I want you to add this. No, I don't want a text box for the image selection. I want you to give me an image selector inside of all of that stuff. And the system understands exactly how to manipulate all the code and all the files to get you to where you want. And notice now it says, now I need to update the carousel model implementation to use iRes client and handle the image selection property. So the system is really, really powerful, understands exactly how Sitefinity, especially the .NET Core one and the Next.js, of course, work to be able to understand what interfaces need to be involved to be able to make this work, and so on. And now it says I need to create a separate file for the image DTO and fix the content contest access. Let me first create the image DTO in a separate file. So it created an image DTO, really amazing. And then it's going to have to create a brand new file, and that actually using one of the tools, one of the 9 tools, which is the REST client sample usage. I'm going to say, yes, go for it. Use that tool to actually make it happen. And perfect. Now I understand how to understand how to properly use the REST client. I need to use the image args with the item ID. Let me check what the correct way to access the selected image ID is. And now working with Sitefinity system content, that again is one of the tools as well. I'm going to say, yes, I give you permission to use that tool, go for it. And now it's going to actually write the code that allow it to work with image content inside of the system. It's going to use the mixed content context. So as you can see, this is not generic. This is very, very specific MCP service to the way Sitefinity works. It has incredible knowledge about all the content and all the classes and the namespaces and everything, and how to create widgets, how to register them, how to use data types and attributes and everything else in the system. It even figured out that it made a mistake. It says, I need to fix several issues. Let me correct the content variation access and use the proper REST client method signature. So it's going to go back to the model file and make some more modification. It deleted three lines and added 8 to be able to adjust itself because it found out it's making mistakes. So really amazing again. And now the LLM is actually cheating. See, let me check how the login status, which is a completely different widget, model handles a mixed content context. So it didn't know how to do something. It's like, let me open up another view component that you have and let's see how they dealt with mixed content context, learn from it, and come back and finish the one from the carousel itself. And that is called learning on the fly. I said, I need to check what the proper REST client extension method is. Let me look at the using statement for the login status model. And it figured it out. And then I see that I need to use the Progress Sitefinity ASP.NET Core REST client namespace. Let me update the using statement. And so there is a lot of going back and forth. I love the concept of how this is actually showing you step by step how the system is thinking about it. You can also use a different model that has deeper reasoning, like the O3 or the O4, for instance, and you will get a lot more conversational about thinking. It will be thinking about this as a planning for this one by one as well. So, okay, let me try a different approach. Let me use a generic SDK item. Yep, that's what I expected as well, as that would work with the built-in get-in method. Yep, go for it. So right now it tried something, it did not like it, so it's going to go back to the model, and instead of using the iREST client, it's going to actually use the SDK item interface to be able to get it to work. It's actually cheating from other view components that it has access to, which is really awesome. And notice after a while it says, I see the issue, there are extra closing braces at the end, let me fix this. So the fact that the system is always monitoring the code being generated and whether it has a compilation errors or not, and going back and fixing them. And you can monitor all the stuff, of course, while this is running. All right, I think the Sonnet 4 from Entropic figured it out. It's perfect. Now I can see the correct pattern. Let me fix the model to use the proper types and methods. So we're getting pretty close from getting this to work. And now the system wants to build, but notice I'm still running. I forgot to shut it down, but that's no big deal. You don't have to click continue right away. You can come in here, do a Control-C to stop it from running. We'll do a CLS to clear as well. And then I'm going to tell it to continue. So we'll say continue, and it will do a .NET build. And if it doesn't build, it will have to keep going. But if it builds correctly after all these modifications it made, we will say, yep, it is successful. So now it's working on actually documenting all the steps that it had to go through. The project built successfully. Now let me create a simple demo or an enhancement document to show what we've accomplished. And that's just the second accomplishment, which is changing that from being a text box into an image selector for choosing the images that you would like in the carousel itself. And as you can see, it's written actually the final documentation for everything. And it included the model image, and at the end ready to use, and it completed. And now there are 15 files that got created from the beginning to end. So I'm going to actually click on keep to bring in the ones that I did not choose yet. So let me bring those in as well. Let's say yes, 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 keep. We're good. All right. And now let's go ahead and run it. We'll say .NET run, and we'll see if it did a better job this time with the widget editor for the carousel. I'm going to go ahead and open up the localhost 5001. All right, let me go ahead and log into the back end. Let's see what the system created for us this time. I'm going to go to the dashboard. We created the Lino core page earlier, so let me open it up again. All right, and I'm going to go to the middle section in here, and we'll say there's the carousel. And let's see what will show up. Okay, no carousel item configured, so I need to configure it. And let's see if it changed it and it created the items instead. Oh, what is that? Look at that. Carousel title, the slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. I don't like this implementation, but let's see if it will work. I can, okay, it created the images separately. It looks like it did only 3, so I might want to go ahead and go back and change the implementation by enter and prompt. But let me see if it will work first of all. I'm going to click on the image 1. We'll go to the library. Let's pick any 3 images for right now. Okay, this looks good. Let me open this guy up. We'll say use the selected one. Image number 2. So we'll enter 3 of them and see if everything would be correctly created for us. Well, this will probably make me hungry. And image number 3 is, we'll choose this one. There you go, good enough for me. All right, I also want to test if this will work. So the carousel, we'll call it, for instance, Lino Carousel. See where this is going to show up. And the first one will say food 1. I'm not going to use, well, maybe a title will say food 1 subtitle, just to see where is that going to show up. I'm not going to create any buttons or anything like that. This one will be food 2, and this one will be food 3. All right, good enough for me. Let's go ahead and also set the autoplay every 5 seconds, show the navigation arrows, show indicators, fade transition. And I can notice one of the things about the autoplay, it did not give me a property for how many seconds do I want the transition to take between one slide to the other. So I don't know if this was omitted from the code or just the property did not show up. So we can see that in the code as well. If not, I can go back to the prompt saying, make sure the widget editor has a per second transition time available, and it will do it for you. So we'll say save. Okay, drums rolling, everybody. All right. Oh my goodness, it worked. Look at that. Food 1 subtitle, and there is the arrows. All right, let me publish this. And let's see if the carousel was created with 0 lines of code written by myself. So I'm going to go back. Oops, let me wait for it to publish. Okay, it's good. We'll go backwards and we'll go to the Lino Core view. All right, so there is the indicators at the bottom. I can click on the second one. It's working. Third is working. Go back to first. How about the indicators in there for the transition? Folks, it looks like this is awesome. So hopefully you got a pretty good idea of what needs to be done. Pretty much you're going to use a couple of prompts, fix a couple of things, but at the end, the majority, I'll say 90 and 99% of the code will be generated for you, which will save us on the long run a significant amount of time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to showing you more wonderful stuff about Sitefinity and MCPs and AI in the future. Have a great one, everybody.